So here we are. We're talking State of the Galaxy, everyone. We got this big post from CG. Grid came on. Unfortunately, I've been trying to get him off the channel. I've been trying to tell him to log off. He won't do it. He refuses. He's joining us for the discussion. So I guess here we go. Gridan's joining us. Everyone in this video has seen our Discord discussion where you're like, what's up, man?
Take it. Well, I just said what's up. Hey, hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. We'll edit that one out. We'll edit that little bit out.
No, we won't.
What's
Okay,
up, everybody?
State of the Galaxy. Okay. Here it is.
Thanks.
Grid, maybe we'll long form this a little bit and kind of divide out in all the individual sections. Kind of the main section to discuss are the upcoming units and themes, which we got. So we'll cover that as its own subject. And then we've got new ships coming, which I don't think we're going to have much other than positive things to say about that. Maybe the only negative about that might be just that, man, that's about, 2 years too late. But fortunately, they're doing it. Little touch on Conquest updates, which I'm actually pretty happy with this latest Conquest. Curious to hear where you're at. And then a very, very, very long epistle on what CG, where their brain is at on the meta. And which kind of to me feels a little bit akin to a monkey with symbols going in circles repeatedly. Anyway, yeah. So let's start on the upcoming units and themes. Yep. So we're getting the Ninth Sister, and they're referencing both Jedi Fallen Order and Rebels here. So what are some of your thoughts on this, Grid? And where are you at?
I'm really excited to see the Ninth Sister. If anybody hasn't played Jedi Fallen Order, you should. It's a really fun game, but that's where both Ninth Sister and the Second Sister come from. And the Ninth Sister is, she is like this borderline insane, unstoppable force of a tank.
Yeah.
And I think they captured that pretty well. I really like the animations. I think they did a good job of capturing. Those are the exact thing that she does in the game, which is cool. The names of the abilities are the things that she yells out as well. So I think it's cool. Her kit's awesome. I like that she's also getting into the Inquisitor sort of vibe that's getting put out there. And I'm excited to see what other Inquisitors we get. I feel like it's kind of safe to say we're going to get the Grand Inquisitor from Rebels. And maybe that'll be like the lead Inquisitor. But I hope we get 5. I hope this isn't a situation like the Imperial Remnant. That's the only thing I'm nervous about.
Tell me about it.
If we get 3 or 4 Inquisitors and they're like, here's some Inquisitors, have fun. You're like, what am I going to do with them? So I just hope we don't have that situation on our hand. I hope these are 5, independent tunes that you make an Inquisitor team, or maybe you're like, let's make an Inquisitor with a Darth Vader or Lord Vader team. I could think that could be kind of cool. But I really just hope they finish the team. I am so sick of incomplete teams, which we'll talk about that in a moment with the other guys.
It does kind of feel like, now you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong, but they keep referring to this squad, the second member to fill out the squad is part of the language there, which I would kind of surprise me if they're doing a partial squad for that. I do think we will get a full clip of Inquisitors, and I feel like the capstone of that probably will be the Grand Inquisitor, who would probably make the most sense to lead them at this point, because Darth Vader might make the most sense from a lore standpoint. However, I don't see them giving us a new Darth Vader, and I don't really see them carving Darth Vader out to be exclusively used with this team, with all everywhere he gets used right now. So it kind of makes sense that the Grand Inquisitor might be the leader of the faction and be the capstone. I speculated a while ago that it could be an event akin to Starkiller. I think that there might have been, somebody will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I might have seen somebody say that in one of the interviews somewhere, or one of the little appearances of a dev, they confirmed that would not be the case, but I'm not sure if that was accurate or not. So if anybody saw that, we are recording this live, let me know in the chat and we can clarify that. But something else I wanted to talk about with the Ninth Sister too, that I love that they've done, give credit where credit is due. She just looks menacing on the screen. Like when you look at these animations, it's just like, oh wow, she just looks so huge. Like she's probably, I think Wampa's probably the biggest character that we have, and she looks to be on the same level as Wampa in terms of how big she is.
Yeah, she is a behemoth of a character, which I think is really cool. And I'm also going to give props, like just like you. I will give props where props is due, and I will call out things that need to be fixed when they need to be called out as well. But like with the second sister, I think that's my favorite portrait in the game. And
Mm.
the animations and the artwork for the abilities, look at the artwork for those abilities. Like look at like ground pound, for example.
Yeah, it looks
Look at the
very
ground pound
detailed.
picture right
Yeah,
there.
I
It
got it.
it is very well done. I don't know if somebody new is doing that stuff now or something, but like those ones look cool. I
Somebody's
really
trying to
dig
gain
them.
favor with the boss on that one.
Yeah, like those are I will give them
And
props.
we are the boss.
I do.
We're your boss. We're the
Yeah,
captain now.
for sure. Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I am getting confirmation. Sounds like it might have been on Galactic War Report that CG did say that we would not be getting Star Killer like event for the Grand Inquisitor for the. They probably didn't say Grand Inquisitor. They probably just said for that faction. So,
Right.
but either way, looks exciting. They mentioned Star Wars Rebels here, so I think it's likely that we'll see some of those Inquisitors from Rebels. Other Inquisitors might be on the table. We'll have to kind of see where we're at on that. And then they talk a little bit about the TIE Interceptor, which we already know about. Not really a whole lot to discuss there. And then
No, there's one thing. There's one thing.
Go for it.
They changed one aspect of the Interceptor's kit. It's at the very bottom. It says its unique prototype design reduces allied capital ship cooldowns when in reinforcements, and the allied capital ship gains turn meter. That is not in there currently. I don't know if I missed the post
Good
or I don't know
catch.
where it is. That was not in there. So that is something just to jot down now. It's kind of like who's it, Ghost or Phantom? I always confuse them, where you bring them in as a reinforcement, then
Yeah.
the cooldown gets decreased. So we have that mechanic that's getting brought in. So that is one thing to throw out there.
Yeah. Interesting. And it also feels like something that is notable is they're kind of carving out a Galactic Chase, a Conquest Chase character versus a Conquest character. Right. Because we've got this meta definition here. And let's see here. Yeah, so we got Marquee / Galactic Chase, and then we've got Journey Guide and Conquest units being above these. And it feels like they're kind of almost alluding to this Conquest Chase being different than Conquest units. Or am I misunderstanding that?
Well, it says what? 2 more ships coming to Galaxy of Heroes via Galactic Chase. Isn't that just when you can find the shards in like either like Cantina battles?
Yeah, so those other ships are coming
whatever.
Galactic Chase, but they're saying that this new TIE Interceptor is a Conquest Chase. Oh, was that? I'm hearing in the chat that was a typo. So this is just a normal Conquest unit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've seen actually there were a few typos. There's another one. I thought it was actually a clue, but it's in the Ninth Sisters post.
Don't they know that we hang on every word?
I hyper-analyze everything. I'm looking for clues, man. I'm looking for the puzzle.
Okay, sorry for a bit of a mislead there. Thanks for the clarity in the chat there. Yep. Okay, so we're finally getting some different ships in the game. One for First Order, one for Resistance. Both are going to be tanks. We got the First Order TIE Echelon, and we've got the next to the Special Forces TIE Pilot, the longest name, the MG-100 Star Fortress SF-17. Say that 10 times fast.
It sounds like a really, really, really intense like printer.
Oh man,
I am so glad they're finally bringing these bombers in. Oh my God. I was literally just complaining about that like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I was like, seriously, just take the TIE bomber, change its kit to be specified or tailored towards First Order Resistance. Don't give it a pilot or anything. I don't care. Just like throw it in there, as lazy as it would be. Nobody would care. We just need the tank. And so I'm like, finally, First Order. And the First Order one sounds like R2D2. It says tough ship that applies stealth to allied First Order ships.
Yeah.
So it's like an R2D2 like force taunt. And then the Resistance one, I'm actually really interested to see because it specified the ship packs a punch if it can finish its bombing run. So I'm wondering if it has some ability that has like a cooldown of like,
Probably.
30, or 50, something like that, where towards like the end of the match it just drops the payload and just kills somebody. I think that'd be really cool.
I really think that their the artwork. Shout out to the art team here. This looks like a shot. Almost, I mean, it basically looks like it's straight out of the movie. For this one, is very very well done.
Isn't it? I was like, wait, come on, Cubs. You're smarter than that.
All right, the Conquest update. I don't know if there's a whole lot you want to break down for that, but I kind of like the way that they're doing Conquest this time. I feel like the feats are landing a little bit better for me this time. They don't feel quite as miserable. And I like the idea of having the kind of this Russian doll feat where you get the one that gives you the let's see here, let me pull it up here and tell you exactly what I mean. You've got the feat, the global feat that gives you the data disk, right?
That gives you then the sector feat. Yeah.
Here, we'll pop it in. So it's the let's see, I still need to work on it. A New Hope. You win 20 battles with Luke and Obi-Wan, and then that gives you this data disk here, critical over, and that enables you to start working on the Great Shot Kid data disk. And then you've also got I Know There Is Good in You, which is defeat 100 enemies with Darth Vader or Jedi Luke Skywalker, which everyone's going to be able to do that. I'm assuming you have those characters. And then that gives you the ability to go for this data disk or this, this global feat. And I like that way to work towards data disks other than just relying on RNG. Now I've got a built-in guaranteed way to get good purple disks.
I love that. I feel like I'm so glad it's finally here. I wish it was here earlier, but I do like that. Especially because those feats are super attainable.
Yeah.
It's not like kill 50 people or win 50 battles with Tusken Raider surviving or something, ridiculous. It's like that's pretty attainable. Like killing people with Vader or killing people with Luke, like, yeah, absolutely. So I really like that as well. I would only point out also that the Razor Crest is for the time being going to stay where it's at, but it will be moving to its quote unquote farm location sometime around the launch of Conquest 14. So for everybody, like for some of my alt accounts, if you guys are like that, where I'm trying to go for Executor, but I don't have Razor Crest.
Right.
Good news it sounds like after this Conquest, hopefully within like a month or so, we should be able to farm Razor Crest. So that's another thing I just want to point out. That's kind of important. But otherwise, I think, hey, Conquest 13 is here. I like that the feats are way less grindy and much more attainable than in the past. So I'm so far I'm happy. I'm getting into Sector 2 right now, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than I have.
Yeah, much less grindy feats and a lot less of that forcing you to do the same battle 30 times. In specific zones, and obviously that's an arbitrary number. I don't mean specifically 30, but you're just repeating so many times.
Yes, it's not challenging or difficult or even fun. It's just like monotonously boring.
Yeah. So they seem to be they are continually moving in a healthy direction. My concern, I don't know if this is your concern, is that clearly this Conquest unit seems less desirable than the others. Like, I mean, this next to Boba Fett or Ahsoka Tano or Maul, definitely feels like a step down. And so I fear that the feats are reflecting that in terms of like how difficult it is to get the character and how much work you need to do. And then when we go back to a more desirable unit, they'll ramp up the difficulty again. So I hope that this is here to stay, not just because this unit is less interesting.
I would unfortunately think that is what it is.
Stop that.
I mean, if you very next what? No.
Bad Gridan.
No, I'm sorry, but like the next thing that they talk about, the whole what's the meta with you section, they talk about how like it says very specifically a counter, it's somewhere in here, the counter to a team. Here it is. The intent is that a counter to a squad should be roughly comparable in effort to unlock that squad. But there's a ton of factors, blah, blah, blah. So like, if X, Y, or Z team is beating X, Y, or Z team, normally they're kind of on par with one another, but they have been really reinforcing this whole mechanic and aspect of like respecting the investment. And so, I mean, Commander Tano, Maul, really difficult to get, really difficult conquests. And you got really insanely good characters. And now it's like, all right, it's a ship. It's going to be good. I'm not saying the ship's going to be bad. It's going to be a great addition to any roster. But you're it kind of looks like they scale together. You get a really good tune, it's going to be really hard, which I mean, again, makes sense. But I'd prefer to see difficulty, not grindiness.
Thank
So
you.
that's
Yeah,
where I'm
because
at.
a challenge to me, we beat this horse dead. I'm actually just gonna
Yeah,
move
yeah.
on.
We can
Okay,
just move on. We all know.
we've talked about so much. So what's the meta with you? So, oh my gosh, we've got 1, 2, 3, basically 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 paragraphs here that to me basically just tell us that we are going to balance the game. Am I missing something, Grit? Like, what did you get out of this? I mean, there's obviously some more detail in here than that, but I just, as I was reading this, recording my video, I was just kind of going cross-eyed with like just how much exposition there is here, and
Oh,
I don't really know what to
yeah.
make of all of it.
It felt like the little droid at the beginning of Loki that just sits there, talking and telling you everything that's going on, and you're like, oh, I'm on an episode of exposition. Like, I just sat there, I was just like reading it, and I was like, I mean, what are we, what are we talking? What's the? I don't know what the point of like that entire thing is. I'm just like, okay, so you understand your game, and you're telling us that you understand your game, and we're going to be transparent about upcoming stuff, and we're going to try and keep it fun. And I'm just like, okay.
It feels like what
Like,
they're, I mean, I appreciate the effort to be transparent first and foremost.
yep,
Like, I just want to be
always.
clear that I'm glad that they are trying to
Yes,
communicate this.
to be clear.
But
Yep, I'm not
it
harping
feels
on
like
that.
they're trying to communicate something that's just not really communicatable. If that makes sense,
Yeah,
because they are obviously what they're trying to justify is the need to balance characters in the game, right?
right. Which a lot
And
of
they're
people
they're
have been
trying
upset
to
about.
give some parameters on why they're going to make changes and what the hierarchy is meant to be as a backbone for defining that, right? But then
Right.
they also say in the same sentence or in the same vein that there are many exceptions to the rules in the name of fun
Right.
and interesting gameplay. So it's almost like they're outlining, all right, here are the parameters around what we're going to change and why we would change it, and this is why we're going to justify it. But just so you know, we might not follow these rules at all. There are
Yeah.
many exceptions to the rules in the name of fun and interesting gameplay. So basically, we're going to do it when we want, and we're not going to do it when we don't want to. And so if that's the case, then like, what exactly are we defining?
Yeah. Yeah, because like I mean, they say all of this stuff, and I don't know where it is exact. Here it is. Here it is. The paragraph that starts with also a quick note about defense penetration. There, it's like the second to last sentence, or like the third to last. It goes, while it is, they say all of this stuff about like the core issue was ignoring the defense, and then they're like, now with all of that said, while it's highly unlikely we will introduce a new character that ignores all defense, future characters may have. It's like, wait, you just highly unlikely you will not introduce a character. Wait,
Yeah.
what? So it's like, yep, we're doing all this stuff, but we might not. And you're like, okay, I appreciate the honesty, but like, but what does that then? What does that tell me? What do I do with that information? We may or we may not. And you're like, okay,
Yeah,
I,
it feels
yeah.
like there's so
So
much making a statement and then dialing it back. It's like a politician wrote this, right? Like they're trying to communicate everything they're supposed to communicate, but also give them an out for everything they're communicating.
right, and so you're just kind of like, and then at the end, you're just sort of left with like, okay, so what was the point of all of that? Okay, I mean, you just kind of like, you're just like, okay, I
Maybe the
don't know what
point
else
is
to
so
say with a
they
lot
can
of that.
point to this and say, well, we addressed that,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
and you're kind of just like, all right, sounds good. Okay, we'll wait for more information.
I
So,
really like
yeah.
this comment. I want to call out Tano in the chat who said it feels like they are defensive about the changes they made like half a year ago.
Yes, the great nerfing. Yeah, people are still upset about that. Gridan.
Yeah, and it's like almost like they're still trying to justify that. Now here's another part of this that I think is interesting that I'd like to get your take on. How do you feel about the Galaxy of Heroes power tiers they define, where we got, okay, so Galactic, Chase, and Marquee characters are kind of the bottom tier. Then the Journey Guide and Conquest units are next up. Then
Yeah.
we're jumping all the way to Galactic Legends. And then wait, we got beyond that, Galactic Legends with Conquest counterparts.
I'm glad they can at least admit it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess it's about time. And like, obviously, we all knew, but
Yeah.
it's just I don't know, man. I don't. I've said this for a while. I don't like this whole Galactic Legend Conquest like team mesh up sort of thing, because now that makes Galactic Legends stand out from one another. And I always wanted like all Galactic Legends to be an awesome epic match of rock, paper, scissors, that somebody will beat somebody who beats somebody who beats somebody. And they all have their strengths and weaknesses within one another in that kind of like field. And now I mean, it's there. That's written. There is a difference between
Yeah.
our Galactic Legends of SLKR and Ray and our Galactic Legends of JMK with Cat. They're just better. And we obviously already knew that, but now it's in writing and they've said it, and we know that those guys are always perpetually going to stand out from the crowd, which I'm not a huge fan of, like I said,
No.
but it's there. They said it.
Yeah, and
I
again, I see Crumb jumping in the chat, and it's great to see you, Crumb. He says maybe it's a step in the right direction, and I will frankly agree with that. Getting the devs to share their thoughts on the game on a deeper level, but hey, I'm very biased. And we did, I don't know if you were here at the beginning, Crumb, but we did definitely give credit out towards, we do appreciate the effort to communicate this. I think maybe Gridan and I think others in the chat where we're kind of looking at this and scratching our heads a little bit is we see the communication on what the parameters are, but then there's almost a way to dial back all of that. And so it doesn't really define a whole lot for me. It's just like, yeah, maybe we're just seeing the thought process they go through. And I mean, I guess I appreciate that, but I also don't feel like this is really giving me a great idea of when can I expect a nerf and when can I not expect a nerf, if that makes sense. Right. And kind of dialing it back to the conversation on Galactic Legends versus Galactic Legends with the Conquest counterpart. Somebody will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time they've really acknowledged that as showing that these new Galactic Legends we got, Lord Vader and Kenobi, are on a different tier than the other Galactic Legends.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
And
because they say a lot in a lot of places, so sometimes I miss something.
And then I'll echo that, because I do find it there is the I guess sort of breath of fresh air to be able to see that. I guess to make like the comparison, like when we did the Speed GAC, it was nice to see how the developers were interacting with people in the community and that they were playing the game and understood it. Because a lot of people are like, oh, they don't even play, they don't know they know what they're doing. And so I will say it's nice to see that they are explaining this and giving that sort of parameters on like how they're making some of their decisions. Like you're saying, there's outs on all of it at the same time. So it's like, okay, it's in that parameter, but also kind of not in that parameter, but it at least gives us an idea of what they're trying to accomplish. And I mean,
and
like
that's why I kind of say it's almost like maybe they're trying to communicate something that is just not really possible to communicate. Because ultimately, what it all comes back to is, if CG feels like they need to nerf a character, they're going to nerf it. I don't think they're going to come to this post and go through like, okay, what parameters did we set? Like, they're just going to be like, no, we don't like this, we're going to nerf it. Like, and that's almost what I would rather hear in a lot of ways is, I mean, I appreciate the explanation. I appreciate everything that came into this. But really, when it comes down to it, let's be honest, they're going to nerf what they feel like they need to nerf. And it won't. That's more or less what they're saying in this post, because they're giving a lot of the common reasons they would nerf it. And the reasons they give are fair, I think. But then if it doesn't fit into those parameters, they're still going to say veto and we're nerfing it if they feel like they need to. It's basically what they're saying.
Right.
Am I wrong?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because it's really hard. There's not specific rules when it comes to SWGoH, and I think that's why you're saying it's really difficult to word what they're trying to put into words, because like, yeah, if something works fine and it's fun, and I don't know, if somebody discovers whatever counter towards something and it's kind of cheesy or it's kind of weird, they might be like, no, we don't want that to happen. They can nerf it. Or something else, it could like maybe fit into the same group, but then they don't nerf it. And so you're kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, so I mean, like, we're like, okay, I'm
Here's
just
an
gonna
idea.
roll with it.
Tell me how this sits with you, because I feel like it's almost like you're trying to define something that's so broad and so wide-reaching that you can't really do it in one post. I think that's probably why this post got so wordy and why there's 11 paragraphs here about it, because you're trying to explain why you would nerf characters and what the hierarchy is for the entire game when there's an insane amount of nuance that goes into that. So it's almost like, well, I would almost rather a couple paragraphs to really in-depth justify why specific characters are getting nerfed for specific situations. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times they provide that, but a lot of times it feels like there's a very there's not a whole lot of justification. There's not a whole lot of information. There's just kind of, this isn't working as intended. The balance isn't what we wanted it to be. Here's the changes that are made. Sorry, we're not refunding your Qui-Gon Omicron because it doesn't change him enough. And there's, so am I overreaching here, Grid? Do you feel like that would make sense?
Yeah.
Not for this post, but
right, just kind of in general.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously they couldn't go down and break down every single character here. Like that's ridiculous. But as it happens, for each individual example, maybe there's more justification needed there in those cases.
Possibly, yeah.
But
it's
I also digress because I'm like, I want this kind of communication, so I feel bad being too critical of it as well.
I want it. Yes, I want to make that super abundantly clear. I want to make that but it feels like we're harping on this like more than we should be. I want to make it like super clear. Like, I would prefer things like this than somebody just being like, hey, we're not going to talk to you, or yeah, you guys, we're looking into it. I appreciate this. It gives me a glimpse into their into their mindset, which, I mean, maybe I don't fully understand everything, and they can't fully put everything into words, but I would prefer this over not knowing anything. So I think Crumb said it. He said that it's at least a step in the right direction, and I've said that multiple times. I am okay with that.
No communication is bad communication.
I am okay with steps in the right direction, man. We don't have to sprint to the finish line and just be where everything is perfect and everybody's happy. I like this more than stuff that we've gotten. So that's an easy way to leave it for me, I guess.
I think that's a great place to leave that. So if anyone else, by the way, we do have a great audience here right now. I want to thank everyone for coming, and also, by the way, thank you, Snake Neely, for dropping your sub. I'd love to hear some comments and questions from you guys now. At this point, I'm gonna read the wrap up sentence and we'll look ahead a little bit. And also, thanks to Crumb for dropping in, and he's also thanking us for feedback, which is great to see. Anyone that has any questions, let us know, and I'll call a few out and see what Grid and I think about them. But looks like in the road ahead upcoming is going to be really where the meat of what I was hoping to see in the State of Galaxy will be. That also might reflect a little bit in my take here is just basically hearing about a couple ships and a new marquee character wasn't necessarily the most exciting thing to me. What I was really excited about is the gear intervention stuff, what they're doing with Grand Arena, etc. That's going to be in the upcoming road ahead, which makes me extremely excited. And I will call out Tano's question here. We've called out Tano twice now. You're getting your money's worth, Tano. What's happening with GAC? Speculate, Gridan. What else? What else could be coming with GAC?
Look, I'm going to take my moment to be able to say this if I could.
Please.
I really, 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 really hope the next GAC update, if we continue to tailor skill rating to take into consideration things such as number of galactic legends, mod quality, stuff like that. I would love to see that get thrown. I would love to see that get thrown into the formula of what skill rating is. And we touched on it again. Skill rating is a step in the right direction from just straight up GP.
Yes.
I am okay. Like where GAC was versus where it is. I have had my frustrations with GAC, which was to be expected. That doesn't mean I can't get frustrated, but that was to be expected because it's going to be all over the place. It's still getting fine-tuned with wins and losses and stuff like that. but it's really difficult when you punch above your weight group. I have my 4 Galactic Legends, and I'm consistently going against people who have 2 million GP more than me or a million GP more than me, 2 more Galactic Legends, Star Killer, all of this stuff. Since I've won against people who are actually in my level, like my playing, like sort of level, I get bumped up. But then I go against people who just simply have better rosters, which is fine. That's okay. I'll get there eventually. But I think if we could fine tune that skill rating to
Yeah.
somehow give that sort of numeric value or some type
Or
of
put
skill rating
something in the
value.
matchmaking to just directly account for Galactic Legends. And that's something that I mean,
Yeah.
right now, the way that they have defined this game and the way that they have separated Galactic Legends from the rest of the pack, it is so challenging. There are so few options for you to counter Galactic Legends without Galactic Legends right now. And
Right.
so when you're going up against opponents that have more Galactic Legends than you, it does provide a pretty steep advantage. It doesn't mean it's impossible to win every time, no. But
Absolutely
you
not.
can't ignore the advantage that comes with that. I have now faced, I think, 3 or 4 opponents now that have had 3 more Galactic Legends than me.
Right.
And
Which again,
I
we're
haven't won
aware
any of
it's
those
yeah.
matches. I'm not shocked. One of them I got close because my opponent decided to be nice to me and only placed 2 Galactic Legends, and I
Right,
had
so
a great battle. The others have placed like 4 or 5 Galactic Legends on me, and it's basically just game set match at that point because I just
yeah.
don't have the availability to do that. And so
Mhm.
a big question I would have that I would love to see addressed is what is the hesitation to at least now I don't think it necessarily has to mean that every match is equal number of Galactic Legends,
Right.
but at least
Right.
have it be within 1. I think when you get to 2 plus Galactic Legends difference with your opponents, the amount of advantage it gives you, I believe, is enough to render the game mode in a lot of cases kind of trivial at that point. In almost every instance I've seen. Now there are exceptions to that rule. I have seen people underdog and find ways to win, but I'm in a point now where I can't remember the last time I faced an opponent who had a less than 4 Galactic Legends. I've got 3. Well, now I've got 4. I just barely unlocked my 4th. Yay me.
Congrats. Yeah.
But it's just I don't know what to make of that because what
Yeah.
I don't enjoy quite is a match where that is a foregone conclusion. That's not fun.
Mhm. Yeah, if I when I have 7.3 million GP, 4 Galactic Legends. That's CS, OKR, JML, and JMK. And I went up against an opponent who had 8.8 million GP, so 1.5 million GP more than me. He had all 6 Galactic Legends and Star Killer. And
Yeah.
I opened up that match, and there were 6 Galactic Legends on the front wall. And so I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I lose.
Yeah.
It is literally impossible for me to be able to have any
Yeah.
chance of clearing through such a steep disparity. And again, that's like I get it. It's not going to be perfect matchmaking. I'm not asking. And I have beaten people who have 6 Galactic Legends to my 4. I've done that. So again, we're not saying it's impossible. I would just like to see it thrown in the mix. There are those very key important characters, the Galactic Legends, Gas, Darth Revan, Darth Malik, some of those characters and those really good mods. If you go up against somebody who doesn't have good mods, which that's not their fault, like necessarily. Sometimes it's just luck of the draw. But I would like to see those things just kind of thrown into the pot, just sort of mixed in with the pot to see kind of a better resemblance of how rosters are getting matched up together. We use that with like hot utils and what was the other one, the Omega something.
Yeah.
Um, they throw all that information together and it gives you a really clear picture of what some of those rosters look like. And I think that could be really interesting to spice up GAC. And if that's what that GAC update could be referring to, I would love that.
That
I
would
would
be great.
absolutely love that to
Yeah.
fine tune that matchmaking system.
And I something else to give credit where credit is due. And Omega name drop. Thanks for we got some self promotion for 100 bits. Anyway, I really love something about this is CG has been honest with us from the beginning that this new matchmaking system is an evolution, right? Like this is the
Yeah.
first step. They plan on making adjustments. and things like that. And so I think this feedback right now that we're giving is really important to give because we really want to see it move in a better direction. And I think for the most part, matchmaking did move in a better direction because I think GP is too short-sighted. And I see some feedback in the chat as well that I think this is a good point. This is from Ikir. If you're forcing 1 GL difference, you're preventing anyone with 4 GLs from being top 1,000 of Kyber, even if they have Starkiller and Zam and Relic Iden, all with Omicron's not the best idea, IMO. I think that's fair. And that's probably why they haven't done that yet. And so how else can we manage that? Well, we can provide more avenues to counter Galactic Legends. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where I have frustration with what they did with Qui-Gon Omicron, because Qui-Gon was able to counter Galactic Legends, and then they clipped it at the heels. And now we've got this hierarchy system that we're seeing. So the only options are going to be Journey Guide or Conquest units, I guess, with Omicrons to do that. So I'd love to see them add more of those. Like give Jedi Knight Revan an Omicron and an opportunity to beat more Galactic Legends. Give CLS an Omicron and give them opportunities to counter Galactic Legends. And that is where I think that maybe that disparity of GLs can be mitigated a little bit more, because when you have more availability of counters, and Tano's suggesting there are counters. Yes, there are some, right? Yeah. But I mean, exactly how many non-GL counters are there to GLs that are working reliably right now?
Do you want me to list some?
I mean, Gas can beat JML teams and Ray teams.
Yep, Gas has opportunity to beat Ray, JML. Sith Empire has opportunity to beat JML. Yeah, Sith Empire on JML, EP Vader Mara Jade on JML, JKR JKL semi-reliably on SLKR, Starkiller on Ray, kind of on SLKR, possibly C or Lord Vader.
Yeah.
Gas on JMK without Cat, but obviously that's not really going to happen too often.
And a lot of these counters, mind you, that I have seen are not reliable when the Galactic Legend team is decked out. When it is Relic 9
yes, these are all
on the GL, amazing mods, good luck. Right?
Yeah, for the most part, they're like, it's something that's good to keep in your pocket if you are absolutely like stretched thin, you have no other options. It's kind of like a Hail Mary, see if it happens. Some of them are a little bit safer. But for the most part, they all have this, there's a very high level of doubt with a lot of them.
Press the doubt button.
Yeah, X to doubts. Yeah. Vader used to be like super reliable against Ray. JKR was very reliable against SLK, and they all just kind of got knocked down a little bit, which is like, all right, that's what they wanted to happen, and that's what happened.
Yeah. So I'm seeing here Gregorio, saying multiple attacks versus GLs is becoming more important. I agree. And that's fine. I don't mind when I go up against somebody, I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to two-shot this GL. Where I do mind that is when I'm in a situation where I've had to save every single GL I've got because my opponent has 6 GLs, and I still have to two-shot a couple GLs. And because of that, where is my route to victory in that match? Right? When I have to two-shot some of his teams, he can place all of his GLs and save all of his good teams beyond that and just watch me good luck and one-shot everything for an easy win.
Yeah. This is like at least so far, it seems like this new sort of era of Grand Arena is defense oriented. It really is. And if you've watched some of those really insane GAC players who have all of the toys and bells and whistles, when you look at their defenses, a lot of the time they are putting down 4 or 5 Galactic Legends, and then they are intentionally not going for full clears. And I've switched my strategy to do that. Full clears for the most part are off the board for me.
Well, and they're less important now, right? Because they don't help your score as much.
Yeah, for me now, it's mostly I try and stack as much stuff to stop them from clearing a territory or two, or like stop them right at 1 or 2 territory clears. And then you put Executor and Negotiator on defense, 4 Galactic Legends on the bottom front wall, and then you let them clear the top wall and then struggle against ships and then probably not get through that bottom front wall is like becoming a semi-common strategy. It's a very defense-oriented GAC right now. And then your response is either to okay, let's multi-shot everything now and ignore this sort of idea of efficiency and one shot clears. Ignore that. Send in burner teams, send in what you need to do to kill one toon, then maybe one toon, and then you wipe, the Galactic Legend. Or you just say, nope, I'm not going for a full clear. I'm not going for multi-shots, but you aren't either. You're not allowed to full
Right.
clear me. So it's a very defense-oriented
And that
GAC.
only
I've had
works
to
so
switch.
much though. Like that like if you're trying a strategy like that with 3 GLs and you're going up against an opponent with 6 GLs,
I will lose. Yeah.
they can do the exact same. They can set 3 GLs and have no problem, right?
Yep.
And you're screwed, even more screwed, right?
I'll put 2 in either, and they'll put 3 in either. So I lose.
I think maybe another angle of this conversation we could discuss is I wonder how the game could potentially take into account how much of a disadvantage you are in. I know that there's other games I've played where if you are outmatched and still manage a win, you get something bonus for that, depending on how outmatched you are. Or if you lose, there's some kind of bracket there for that. Like, let's say I've got 3 GLs and I'm going up against 6 GLs. Maybe the rewards scale for that difficulty. Just to acknowledge, like, hey, this opponent has 6 GLs. You have 3. We know you're gonna lose, right? I don't know. I don't know if that's even on the table.
You're gonna lose.
But like, I mean, I want to find out. I'd love to see the data when you've got a 2+ GL discrepancy, right? Mm-hmm. I'd love to see the data on what the percentage is on the underman squad losing.
Oh yeah, that'd be an interesting. Yeah,
for the entire game. And
yeah, because I mean, we see it every
both
once in a while,
opponents try.
Yeah.
When opponents try, because I beat a guy with 6 GLs. He never attacked me though.
Did he auto set Cubs?
No, he didn't even auto set. He actually he was a real bro. He placed a pretty easy defense for me to go have fun with.
That's so kind of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we're both in agreement, and I feel like most people would be in agreement. This is a step in the right direction.
Agreed.
And we appreciate that.
Agreed.
We have encountered new problems, new difficulties. Here's the feedback. Let's keep stepping in the right direction. I think that's how I feel like a lot of people could agree with that.
And the way the system's built, I think this is another angle of the conversation that's important to highlight. It rewards you for losing with an easier opponent, and it penalizes you for winning with tougher opponents. I actually like that design. Maybe reward and penalize is probably not the best way to put it, but you're going to get harder opponents the more you win. You're going to get easier opponents the more you lose. I wonder if maybe we cap that at a certain point on both ends, right? Like, if I'm just going to go on a big winning streak, eventually I'm going to be facing like Arnold or something, whose roster is just a million times more developed than mine because he's got $1 million more than me. And so, like, in theory, that's how it scales right now, right? What if there is a bracket of wherever you're at with your GP situation or whatever that kind of keeps you within a certain bracket so that you can still be competitive? Because what will suck is if you are a good enough player, which I think is what you and me are running into right now, which we're not the best players, but we're decently competent, right?
Oh, wait, speak for yourself.
You run into a position where now all of a sudden all your matches suck and you just spend like a week where, wow, this sucks. And then you lose enough that it busts you back down, and then you're just going to float between suck and okay for a while under the current system. So what if maybe there is some kind of a ceiling on how high your skill points go? I don't know. But I don't even know if that makes sense. I'm just kind of
I kind of see what you're saying. Like, because right now we have a wide spectrum. We have a wide spectrum starting at whatever the base one is, bronzium, and then it goes up from there: bronzium, chromium, merodium, kyber. But everybody is on that spectrum based off of where they're at in skill rating. Yeah. Maybe we could have that same, kind of how it used to be of, everybody starts somewhere semi based off of GP, or maybe that's where this sort of advanced matchmaking of Galactic Legends and so on and so forth gets pulled in. And then we have that the progression of like bronzium through kyber, but within the confines of your individual like skill rating. So you can still progress from bronzium to kyber, but only against people who are within your skill rating at the time. So even if your skill rating is like improving, maybe it won't change until the following season.
Yeah.
And so that way you can climb to kyber against other people that are in your division. Because right now Kyber is, the Arnolds and all, who else was up there, Hawkeyes and Synergy and all these people who have insane rosters, fantastic modding. It doesn't matter how good of a player I am or are not.
Right.
I can't touch that roster. It is impossible for me unless they let me, right?
Right.
So I have no hopes of ever getting into the top 1000, top 100 of Kyber because I'm only 7.3 million GP with 4 Galactic Legends. So people are already kept out of that top Kyber club anyways. But if there was the top Kyber club within your individual skill rating, so everybody gets funneled first, and then you have the Bronzium through Kyber, maybe that would work. I don't know. I don't know if that's a perfect solution.
We're going to end on Maz's question here. This has been a great discussion, by the way, Grid. We need to make more videos together. I always love having you on, even though I
hate making videos with you.
Even though I hate you. Maz asks,
I'm going to leave.
Maz wants to know, what is good matchmaking to you? And to me, I would define it pretty simply. If a match is unwinnable, it's not good matchmaking.
Yeah, I do not like the predetermined result.
I do not mind feeling like I am outmatched if there is a possible route to victory. I've got a really good comment here from Playbook who came in. Being able to underdog upset people is a skill of its own. People need to adapt. I completely agree. And I actually really enjoy facing somebody that I feel like does have a more developed roster than me and still find a way to strategize and beat them. That's not the problem. I don't want easy wins.
Nope.
But there is a difference between that and a match where it is impossible to win if my opponent tries even a little bit.
I'll give I hope this is kind of like the perfect example. It's almost the exact same. One of my patrons has almost the exact same GP as me. I'm 7.65 and I think he's 7.7, but he has all 6 Galactic Legends, Star Killer, the whole works. He has all of the toys. I have 7.6 million GP, but only 4 Galactic Legends. And then I have some of the other, some of the fluff tunes still kind of leveled up and some higher Zetas and stuff like that. So roster wise, we're pretty dang close. When I go against somebody that has 6 Galactic Legends, I might be able to win. And it's really difficult. But if I go up against somebody who has 6 Galactic Legends and they're like 8-point-odd million GP, I have next to no way of winning. But my patron, who has 7.6 million GP, 6 Galactic Legends, all the toys and whistles, he was able to beat his opponent, who did have 8.9 million GP, out of strategy. So even though he was very outmatched by well over 1 million GP, they were on enough of an even sort of playing field that the skill and strategy of offense and defense and modding and everything came into play.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to watch and to see. And so that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. Not that like, I love being the underdog. That's like one of my favorite things in the world. I love upsetting.
I don't mind it if I feel like there is a chance, right? It's not where I do mind it is when I can tell there's nothing I can do, period. Like, it's from the very moment, like, I've lost before the round has even started, before I've even made a mistake. I can play everything perfectly and they could make every mistake and I still lose.
It's the difference of like, if you had like the Patriots go against like a high school football team that's really good versus like the Patriots just going against like maybe the bottom of the NFL league. Like, you could still find a way to win. You're still kind of on an even playing field. But if you're the high school football team, it's impossible. There's no way. And so bridging that gap of like attainable but not impossible, I would hope we find that balance somewhere.
And I also will acknowledge here right at the end as we wrap up here that is no easy task. And I commend CG for doing their best to push us in a more healthy direction for that. And I do think we are moving in a better direction. And I hope that we continue to iterate on this to get it in a better place as we go forward. So, Gridan, always great to have you on the channel. Overall, I think the State of the Galaxy was just all right. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it was, it was a nice read while I was eating lunch. I was excited about the First Order and Resistance tanks, and I'm moving on with my life.
I'm ready for the road ahead. That's what I'm hyped for now.
That's where I'm at. Yep. So thanks for having me on. I hate you.
Love you too. Thanks, guys, for joining for this long-form video. If you guys want more of these, if you stayed until the very end of the video, be sure to let me know in the comments. And I will definitely love your comment if you stayed until the end. And maybe Gridan and I'll do more of these kind of longer form breakdowns of what's going on. So, all right, guys, take care. Leave a like on your way out. And as always, my brothers, don't forget.
Punch up first.